Hey, what is up guys? Today I'm gonna show you my top 3 list or category of great monitors to consider if you're looking for a cheap gaming monitor for, either your PC gaming setup or your PS4 or your Xbox One. This video should give you a great representation of options to consider. But hey, if we're just meeting, my name is Robin. Welcome to RBN Hardware. Very nice to meet you. Now, the gaming monitor is a wide topic, and if you want to learn more about the difference between panel types, refresh rate, and variable adaptive synchronization, etc., I recommend having a look at the monitor guide video I made a few days ago, or weeks ago I should say. That video can be found in the video description down below. Now, I should also add that I haven't tested these products in person, but I've been investing in a lot of time and I've been looking up reviews and I read what other gamers have said about them, and for what you're paying here you should get a lot of value in return. And with that said, this is how this is gonna go down. I've prepared 3 price points or categories we're gonna look at. First up, we got the best entry-level monitor coming in at $100. We got the best mid-range at $150, and finally we got the best pick under $200. Now, for each category I got at least one monitor, and in some cases I may have more than just one choice, as some monitors are more targeted toward fast-paced esports shooters and others more geared towards RPG based games and console gaming, where high refresh rate may not be as an important factor as screen resolution, for example. But yeah, I'm going to explain everything as we go over each category. If you happen to find anything you like, you can easily find each monitor down in the video description. And regardless if you're into fast-paced esport games, got racing games or RPG turn-based games, or maybe you're looking for a monitor for your PS4 Pro or your Xbox One X, yeah, I've got you covered. Yeah, with that said, let's take a look at my first recommendation coming up on place 3 at around $100. So this is the Sceptre C248W. It's a 24-inch curved Full HD TN LCD 75Hz gaming monitor. Now, this particular monitor is mainly geared towards you that is looking for a cheap 24-inch screen that doesn't break your bank account while still doesn't suck. Now, at the $100 price point, manufacturers typically have to do some sacrifices in order to reach this such low price point. Typically, these monitors aren't the fastest on the market, which can create so-called ghosting and smearing effects. But luckily, today's TN displays handles that pretty good. However, poor viewing angles as well as poor color reproduction are, however, known phenomena that we want to be cautious of when we're looking at a TN display. Luckily, Sceptre did a very good job here. Got pretty okay colors for being a TN panel. Brightness, however, is on the lower side. It's got a max peak brightness of 220 nits. Now, typically more budget-friendly screens sits at around 250 nits, and if you're sitting in a very bright environment, this can be an issue, but for most people you're gonna be fine. But yeah, I would recommend not placing this in front of a window and you will be more than okay. What's cool about this monitor is that it's got a refresh rate of 75Hz, and 75Hz is actually a noticeable uplift over the typical 60Hz standard, and it gives you 25% smoother gameplay and less stutter compared to 60Hz. Now, keep in mind, you won't really see the benefit of this when you hook it up to a PS4 or an Xbox, as these games are capped at 60Hz, but if you plug this into a PC gaming rig, you're gonna be able to enjoy the smoothness of 75Hz as long as your gaming PC is powerful enough to match the refresh rate of 75 FPS, which is important to have in mind. Now, in terms of ports, we're getting a single HDMI and a single DisplayPort and an analog VGA, which you obviously should avoid. So it's got support for VESA mounting, and you can put this up on a wall if you want to. The stand itself is quite basic, but this is expected at this price point. Yeah, I found a guy complaining about the thin bezels not being edgeless, and this is not really Sceptre's fault. All monitors that I've been testing throughout these years have had this same issue as well, and I think it's still a manufacturing issue where they still haven't figured out how to make the visible screen totally edgeless. But if you don't want these annoying black edges, I would highly recommend you to have a look at ultra-wide monitors, which solves this very nicely. I recently looked at Acer's latest ultra-wide, which I honestly liked a lot, and you find a link to that video down in the video description. This monitor also got speakers, but they are completely worthless and you shouldn't use them at all. Now, in conclusion, after reading many reviews, people are reporting a very solid gaming experience with this monitor. monitor, which is quite rare at this price point. And if you're interested, you can read more about it in the link down below. Now, adding another $50 to our $100 budget, you can snag this one. This is the Pixio PXC23. It's a 24-inch 144Hz TN monitor, so adding $50 lets you enjoy the luxury of super smooth 144Hz in Fortnite, CSGO or any sports game that doesn't put too much strain on your gaming PC. Now keep in mind, you need a machine to push at least 144 FPS in order to take full advantage of the extra smoothness that this screen can produce. Again, I covered this thoroughly in the monitor guide, and you find that video down in the video description. Now, something that makes this monitor extra interesting is the fact that it's got something called variable refresh rate certified, meaning that you can hook up a graphics card from either Nvidia or AMD and enable something called FreeSync or G-Sync and enjoy gameplay with no screen tearing. This is something that I covered pretty thoroughly in my what to look for in the gaming monitor guide I made a few weeks ago, and I highly recommend you having a look at that video if you want to learn more how this works in practice. The premise is that the monitor actively matching the number of frames and update the screen accordingly to the frame rate. Kind of similar to how VSync works, but it allows you not having to lock your frame rate, which is such a limitation with having VSync in general. Now, VA panels, which this monitor has, is known of having noticeable blur and smearing effects during fast movements in games, and this can be an issue on this monitor. And if you easily get annoyed by this phenomenon, I would rather look at an IPS display or a TN display. But if you're not that picky, you may not even notice this. It is mostly noticeable in games where there is a lot of shadows and darker elements, but yeah, this is something that is worth to have in mind. In terms of ports, you get a DisplayPort 1.2 and an HDMI 1.4, so you can hook up any additional consoles you may have as well, which is a nice bonus. Now overall, again, not too much to complain about. We got the VA panel, which have their drawbacks, of course, just to be aware of that. On the plus side, VA panels are known of having excellent black levels and contrast, and for around $150, this is a very nice and cheap gaming monitor, and you'll find a link to this one down in the video description box down below. So finally, adding an additional $50, giving us a grand total of $200. Right now, as I'm making this video, the monitor is out of stock, but it should be back and restock in just a day or two. Anyway, for an MSRP of $200, you can snag this 2K 32-inch display from well-known Philips. It is called 326EFJSB, which doesn't say much, but try and hear me out because it's pretty interesting. It's got a massive 32-inch screen, it's got a VA panel, so you can expect great black levels and contrast, and a slight drawback again is the smearing and ghosting effect that is a known phenomenon on VA panels, and this is something obviously to be aware of. But gamers are reporting very positive feedback from this monitor. To prevent the famous screen door effect, we got a 2460 by 1440p resolution or 2K QHD resolution, which is a nice bumper resolution and a sweet middle ground between 1080p and 4K, as it allows for much greater detail over full HD, but it's not as graphically heavy for the hardware as you may think. Yes, your graphics card will definitely take a hit, a noticeable hit in the frame rate, jumping up to 1440p, but I would say it is definitely worth it. You're gonna need a mid-range graphics card in order to enjoy this resolution, and I would say a 1660 Ti from Nvidia or a RX 590, or better yet the RTX 2060 or the RX 5700 or similar is the graphics card sweet spot at this resolution. Now, if your main goal is to pair this with the console, you obviously don't have to care about the frame rate. You're still going to get the same experience as you would that you got from a 1080p or a 4K screen, and this is only just a concern for PC gamers. Like the previous screen, this one also got FreeSync, and it's got an operating range of 48 to 75 Hz, and Tom's Hardware is giving this monitor their 2 thumbs up. And because it's got adaptive synchronization through VESA Adaptive Sync, FreeSync, and while this feature now also works with Nvidia cards, the experience may be a bit so-so, and after been reading various reviews online, I wasn't really able to get a clear answer on how G-Sync works on this one, but FreeSync works like a glove at least, which hopefully means that G-Sync works equally good. In terms of port, we get a single HDMI, a DisplayPort, and a single DVI. It's got a peak brightness of 250 nits, which is pretty standard at this price point. Unless you're placing this in front of a window, brightness won't really be an issue here. Tom's Hardware is again reporting that the input lag wasn't an issue either, and I never noticed a single delay or stutter. Something to point out is the fact that this screen is only 75 Hz, and in cases you're only interested in playing esport games, you should definitely avoid this and perhaps instead, have a look at this one instead, which I'm going to link up in the video description below. Again, if you want to take the jump from 1080p to 1440p, this Philips screen is my first go-to. You can find a link to this one down in the video description down below. As always, if you got any questions, please let me know. I'm gonna do my best to help you guys out. I'll watch either of these two videos for more content, and I will see you guys over there.